What's up, guys? This is Marcus Kross, the master, one half of Master and Machine with my best friend, Griff Garrison. I'm here to talk about road stories and put my hands up, baby. Yeah. What's going on, y'all?
Doing great, man. Awesome.
Doing
Thank you
great.
very much for being with us today, man. It means a lot. So
Yeah.
let's just jump right into it and hit us with a bad road story.
A bad road story. Okay. And does this include like flying, or does it have to be driving?
Either
Anytime
or, man.
travel
It's whatever
story.
you think is a bad road story. So yeah, it could be a
Let's
flight for sure.
Yeah.
Okay. Because, obviously with wrestling, there's a lot of travel involved, and you could travel many different ways. I have traveled by car, by bus, by train, and by plane. Pretty much every way. I guess I still need to get to a show by boat, and then and maybe camel, and then that'll tick all the boxes. But definitely most of my travels have been throughout the East Coast. When Griff Garrison and I go wrestling, we like to travel by car and just kind of hang out together. It's not very often that we invite a lot of other people along, or other people invite us to go along with them. But me and Griff are just really tight, man, and we don't get a lot of time, together just to hang out. So we use a lot of the road time to, like reinforce our friendship and talk about stuff that we want to do and plans for the future. It's really cool. So I and I'm saying all this because I'm trying to think of a bad road story. I'm biding my time because I just always have a lot of fun when I'm on the road. Well, I have been through. This is my fifth vehicle, and I'm in my car because we're telling road stories. Why not? But this is my fifth vehicle, and I'm only 25 years old. So that's an average of one car every 2 years, like since I first got it. My first car was like a Nissan Xterra. That was before I was wrestling, and I rear-ended somebody in that. That one was my fault. After I started wrestling, I had a 2006 Hyundai Tiburon, twin turbo, 6-speed, dude. It was so much fun to drive. It was like a little coupe, and I could whip around corners and stuff. We were on our way down to a show in Atlanta. And I mean, I've had lots of close calls with this car in particular. My mom's going to kill me when she watches this podcast when I tell her about the way she already knows the way I drive, but I always kind of like to drive pretty fast and get where I'm going pretty quick. There's been plenty of times where I've swerved out of the road to avoid hitting a turtle, and I ended up turning my car around backwards and facing a truck that was oncoming to me. And thank God they broke in time, so I was able to turn back around. I'm getting dangerous. This is like an action movie off the bat. Well, nothing bad happened that time, but probably a few months after that, we were going down to Atlanta, and it was during Hurricane Florence. I think that had to be like 2017, 2018. I think that's when Hurricane Florence was. That was right around this time. I hydroplaned right outside of Gastonia, North Carolina. So I didn't even make it that far down the road from where I live, up towards Winston-Salem. I was just like right a little bit past Charlotte, I think. I was close to the South Carolina border. And I just hydroplaned, I tailspin, and we went and smashed passenger side into the concrete median guardrail. Like there's like a concrete wall that's like the median between the reverse sides of traffic. And Griff's was in the passenger seat. And once we hydroplaned, we just kind of like looked at each other, and we didn't say anything, but we both had the same look on our face, and we both just kind of like quick prayer, and we smashed into the guardrail on his side, totally obliterated the whole side. Like the fender came off, the doors were messed up. Griff couldn't even open the door all the way to get out once this was over. The tires were shredded and popped because like we hit it and then we slid along the side, but no airbags deployed or nothing. And it was crazy. It was a crazy, crazy experience, actually. And then we turned that car into junk. Hold on. I keep this with me because of this exact story right now. I was looking for, we were just turning the car to junk, and I was cleaning out that car after I wrecked it, and I found this necklace with the Lord's Prayer under my seat. And I just thought, man, that's so cool. I got this necklace like years and years ago from an ex-girlfriend who we won't name. She doesn't need to be talked or discussed about. But, my faith is very important to me. And I just thought it was really cool. Like, I've been in a lot of close calls in that vehicle in particular. It was just a fun car, and maybe I drove it kind of reckless. But the fact that I found this under my seat kind of gave me a confirmation like, hey, you need to slow down, you need to take your time, but like I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing. Like I didn't get hurt, I didn't get injured, and I was on the way to a show, and it could have been a lot worse. But I got a little bit wet because of the rain, and I had to junk this car, and I ended up getting another car that was even nicer, very reliable, and was much better to me on the road. So I'd have to say that's probably the scariest, most dangerous road story that I've had. Yeah.
Yeah, that sounds terrifying.
Yeah.
Yeah, dude, that is wild. And yeah, I noticed you mentioned you're from Winston-Salem. I wanted to say earlier that you're a Davis County guy like we are.
Oh heck yeah,
Yeah,
we're
yeah.
homegrown, baby. Griff and I have hosted some shows, wrestling shows at North Davidson with some pretty good turnout. We come out to the old football song "Back in Black," dude. It's hype.
That's awesome.
Nice.
I
You guys
love
I
plan on
that.
doing that again?
town. I love my hometown. We're trying to set it up again. Griff is the guy who has all the contact information to put that stuff together. We have to get like insurance for the gym, and he's really good at putting that stuff together. So I
Nice.
usually handle all that stuff.
Good deal. Yeah, next time I guys do it, man, I'll be there for sure.
Heck yeah, and
Oh yeah.
we'll where everyone's gonna know.
Sounds like a plan. All right,
Awesome.
so we got the bad road story. That was wild. So I know you said you got a lot of good road stories, man. So I'm excited to hear one.
Dude, there are so many good ones, man. I wish they all happen with Griff. I wish Griff was here right now, but he's actually so I'm actually living out in Raleigh, Durham right now, and he lives in Winston Salem. I come by a lot just so we can hang out, but he's actually moving out here, and we're gonna be roommates and living together, training together, working hard, chasing our dreams together. He's moving out here next month, so it's gonna be a lot of fun. I'm
Nice.
my best friend around more. A really good road story. Lots of times, I feed off of the energy that happens from the situation of wrestling. Like anytime we'd go wrestle, and I'm not knocking any indie. I love wrestling. I love working for any promotion, but there's just always something special about going to AEW, whether it's a dark or Ring of Honor taping or whatever. And even back before COVID, Ring of Honor tapings, those were my favorite, hands down. Those are my favorite. We had some of our best experiences on the road. I feel like okay, here's a cool one. I want to say it was Philadelphia. Yeah, it was Philadelphia. Griff Garrison and I just wrestled Coast to Coast, which is LSG and Shimali, and we had a really good match. And by this point, I mean, we still haven't won a match. And we were working for Ring of Honor before COVID for probably about a year and a half, at least doing one thing for them every 1 to 2 months. Like we were getting called in whenever they were up and down the East Coast. We would go to the Atlanta shows, the Charlotte shows, Philly, Pittsburgh. We were traveling pretty good with them. Before COVID, we were even, told, hey, literally in January of 2020, they said, we're looking at giving you guys a contract this summer. And then, 2 months later, the world falls apart and nothing happens. One time after, I believe it was already after we had wrestled Dalton Castle and Joe Hendry a few months earlier, Dalton Castle really liked me and Griff. And he's a really cool guy. Like in the ring, out the ring, Dalton Castle he's just great, honestly, at everything. He came up to us and he put these drinks down on our table and he's like, "You boys need to be drinking with us." And we're kind of just like at the end of the table. It's like we're the small people on the totem pole, and it's like guy, former world champion, comes up and is like, put these drinks down in front of us. We have to smash them. But I'm looking at him, and he said they were Long Island iced teas. They look like water. It's clear. It's like all the way up to the top, a tall glass, just like clear with a little bit of color at the top. There's a splash of tea in this. When I tell you this guy gave us a glass of straight up liquor, that's exactly what it was. And we were like, people are looking at us, people are watching us. This is what we got to do. And we downed those suckers. And we had an amazing night. I think after that, we went to a Korean barbecue, all you could eat, and me and Griff pounded like 14 steaks. And I think I tried squid, not normally in my palate, but I think I ended up enjoying it. That's a good road story, but probably one of the best road stories. And I'm sorry, I'm not going to be able to give you all the information because a lot of it involves Griff. And I don't know exactly what he wants me to say about this or not because this was a crazy time. Back in 2019, so it was probably a year, like we were still doing Ring of Honor stuff, but we were just probably getting into being consistent with them. We got a very fortunate opportunity we were booked by our agent Bill, with a bunch of other wrestlers that are running independents around Atlanta. And referee Mike Posey from AEW went. He took a whole caravan, a whole crew, a whole locker room, a bunch of us guys down to Cabo, Mexico, where we performed a private show at a resort. It's a $1 billion resort. There's probably well over 100 properties on the resort, and none of them are less than like $5 million homes. They're absolutely gorgeous. It's a white sands beach. This is a luxury. What we, some Davidson County boys, are doing at this beautiful place, I don't know. Especially since I had only been like really doing matches for only 2 years and only been like out of training, like started training wrestling 3 years before that. I was like, dang, this is big time. And then we found out it's a private show. And then we find out who's on the guest list. There's only going to be a crowd of about 250 people here. Why are they spending so much money on us? This was the biggest payday we ever had, probably by a factor of at least 5 or 6. Like, it was a good chunk of money that we got to go to this show. They paid for our stay there. We stayed around the property. It was really nice. All you could eat food, per diems to go down into the city, and they told us exactly where to go, like where to party, where to eat, who to hang out with, who to talk to. We find out the guest list is people like Tim Cook, like Mark Cuban, Michael Phelps, my dog. That was the man. So Rick Ross, and what all of these people are doing at a destination, a resort town outside the country in Mexico. Don't ask me. I don't know. But it was a lot of fun. And we got to talk with some really cool people and some high up people. We were there for about 3 days. I do this stupid thing. I do kind of like a vlog myself. You'll never see me post it. I think I posted a few clips way back on my Instagram from this one from Cabo, where you mostly see a lot of dancing and flashing lights and a little bit of wrestling. When I do these videos and vlogs, it's mostly for me. I keep it close, and it's like for Griff, and I like to keep memories. So we were in the airport, and I was like taking these vlog videos, and we're like cutting promos and acting silly and doing stuff. And there's these girls that that were on our plane, and they start mimicking us and copying us in the airport. And now and it's like, oh, they don't know who we are, and we're making a fools of ourselves, and they're like over there copying us, and we kind of like get a little blush and like start. Then we walk away. We don't see them again. Then we see them when we're walking down the street. We had already been on the property. We'd already checked in our rooms and stuff. We're like, let's go hit the town. We see them dancing on the side of like a rooftop bar, and they yell at us, hey, blondies. And we like turn over, me and Griff, and we look at them, and then they're like, come here. And then they start chatting us up. And these ladies are gorgeous. Like, I couldn't have written a better script, for how this could have gone. Like, these ladies calling us over. And we recognized them right away. We thought, oh man, these ladies are just gonna roast us. But they were asking us what we were doing. We had a great conversation. Griff got some phone numbers. We hit it off. Later, we run into them on the beach, and they sit down and we talk, and we're like, let's go do karaoke, let's go do this, blah. But they're with a group of friends. Me and Griff, we're here to wrestle. Our agent keeps calling us. Get back to the hotel room. We got to talk about this. But we keep trying to sneak out like every chance we get. Let's go hit the beach. Yes, we're here for a job. It's a very important job. We have to put on a very good show for some high profile people that are paying us a lot of money. But the beach is really nice, and these girls look really nice. You know what I mean? So our agent gets a little bit mad at us about that. But so the first day ends. We conclude meeting with the people at the resort, walking through, the ring. This was also the stiffest ring I've ever been on. I don't think the people putting this together really understood what a wrestling ring is, because a wrestling ring, in order to complete the move safely and efficiently, it has a different type of structure to it, with bars and planks, and then your little wrestling mat pad, and then the canvas. This ring was more like a boxing ring. It was like a brick platform with absolutely no movement, no bounce. It's almost in like a very like rubbery polyester like canvas. It was pretty much clearly a boxing ring. And I'd never been in a ring like that. It was kind of intimidating, but we still went out. We killed it. After the show, Michael Phelps comes backstage, and he's like, let's do some drinks. And Michael Phelps is lining up shots, and you'll find that on mine and Griff's Instagram. And of course, we're going to party with Michael Phelps. And he tells us exactly where to go. He says, I want you to go to my bar. I'm not going to say the name. Ask for this guy. I'm not going to say his name. And tell him MP sent ya. And we did that. Whew, and I can't remember the rest of the night. I'm just kidding. We got to go behind the bar and start making our own drinks. And then MP himself showed up, and it was just a great time. But as soon as the show was over, I felt so bad. I was telling all the locker room, I was like, get dressed, get your bags together, get on the bus. We gotta go. We got some ladies waiting for us, and they're gonna meet us at Michael Phelps's bar in Mexico. It's fun, a very fun time. And what I'm telling you right now, it might seem like a lot, and this whole adventure happened in just like 3 days of us being there. We probably only got about 6 hours of sleep in the 3 days that we were there, and we wrestled, we ate a lot of food, and then we hung out with some beautiful ladies that came on our plane from Chicago, and we left the same day as them. It was almost like it couldn't be written any better, and we had a great time, great experience. It's all in the past, and that was a very fun time. I could tell you more, but I would need Griff Garrison's permission.
Yeah, we're hoping to have Griff on soon, man. I messaged him because I'm hoping at some point I'm get him on, do his own individual, and then I got to have Master Machine together.
Of
So,
course.
I mean, yeah. I'm excited that I saw Griff's return to ROH. So
Yeah,
hopefully you guys are going to be killing it together on ROH.
dude, I hope so. I want to put this out into the universe right now. AEW, Collision, and the Ring of Honor tapings are coming to, I believe it's Greenville, South Carolina in August. It's like the first week of August, and then the week after that, they're going to be in Greensboro, North Carolina. Nothing would be better than for me and Griff to just team one more time. Give us a shot, Ring of Honor, come on. Just team together in our hometown, and the rest of it, then it's done for everyone. We're going to make history. I just need this one shot. So I'm throwing it out there. Someone's going to see this. It's going to get caught, and we're going to make history.
Well, you remember, man, I tweeted at Tony Khan at least twice. I was like, listen, like, we got to put Marcus and Griff together, man. Like, I mean, I've seen you guys together, right? So I'm like, I want it on TV. Like, yeah. So I'm with you, man. Totally.
Dude, me and Griff it's so much fun. Like, I love wrestling, and I would have always tried to become a professional wrestler no matter what. There's not a chance I would have made it this far without my best friend. Hitting the road is hard, which is probably why you started with the bad road stories. It's easy to come up with one right off the top. There's probably going to be more of those just because there's so many problems you can run into when you're on the road. But, traveling with my best friend, I have so many good road stories too. And I these road trips, these flights, being away from my friends and family. I missed my girlfriend's birthday last year. I've missed Christmases before. And yeah, it's not good on the personal life. So having a good friend for us to support each other while we're going on the road is so important. It's so important. It's why you need a healthy locker room. When you're traveling with these people and you're on the road hundreds of days a year away from your family, you need to have a good, mind space. You need to have a good locker room of people, which is why I love most of the independents and the shows around Winston-Salem, Greensboro, even South Carolina into Georgia. It's such good people, man. There's a few shady ones, but for the most part, you're going to find really good people at a lot of wrestling shows you go.
All right, I'm going to let Angel take it away. She's got some questions for you.
Yeah, right. We just have a few quick questions. First one is, what's your go-to place to grab food when you're out traveling?
So for the longest time, when we first started wrestling, Griff would not get off Cracker Barrel. He was a Cracker Barrel nut, and that's kind of a thing. Lots of wrestlers love Cracker Barrel. It's not quite like a Waffle House. It's a little bit nicer, and they got the little store and stuff. So, I mean, we would always really like to stop at Waffle House or Cracker Barrel. We made a tradition when there was probably about 2.5 years where we were going down to Atlanta every single weekend. Like, I was going down to Atlanta to wrestle from North Carolina probably somewhere between 45 to 50 weeks out of the year for about 2.5 years. Like, it was very, very consistent. We were just trying to build relationships and contacts. I met my gear maker. I met a lot of coaches who send me film and tape and stuff to watch. And I made friends in the locker room, and that's how I met my agent, Bill, and he's developed us a lot into the characters and the personas, and the skills that we have come from making those trips every single weekend, driving 4, 5, 6, 7 hours down and back while you're in school, while you also have another job. I digress. But on the way down, we would always stop at Olive Garden, and we would carb up and get some like pasta or like broccoli and all that Alfredo sauce and the cheese and the grilled chicken fettuccine Alfredo is probably my favorite, but all the breadsticks too, man. You can't get less than 7 baskets of breadsticks at Olive Garden. On the way back up from Atlanta, after we wrestled the night before and we had a workout the next morning, we would stop at this place in Charlotte called Let's Meat. It's an all-you-can-eat Korean barbecue. You pay about $35, and you just get stuff sent to you. And we went to one when we went up in Philadelphia. I told you about that a little bit about that a little while ago. But we love Korean food, especially the barbecue where you can just cook it. The grills get real hot. It comes real fast. You can get servings and servings and servings. It's so good, especially right after you wrestle. You can get all that protein and just build everything back up. Then you get home, then you go into a food coma, and then you wake up. It's the nighttime. So that's those are our go-to places for about 2.5 years. We get Olive Garden on the way down and all you can eat Korean barbecue on the way up.
That's solid. That's a solid food plan. I like that, man. All right. Second question. It's a 2-part question. So, who is your first favorite wrestler and who is your current favorite wrestler?
The first ever wrestler that captivated me was Rey Mysterio when I was really, really young. But that quickly fed into a love for Eddie Guerrero, who was truly probably my first favorite wrestler. But because Ray and Eddie were working each other all the time. They were either teaming or they were feuding. There was always so much going on and so much content that they were creating together. I kind of fell in love with Eddie for a lot of other reasons, not just that he was a great worker, but I have family from I'm wearing it right now, El Paso, Texas. I'm actually going there to see my family next weekend, or 2 weekends from now, because I have family out there. My grandma is actually really good friends and in a book club with Eddie's mom. And then my Aunt Sandy, she was in band with Vicky Guerrero. In fact, when I went to AEW for the very first time and I met Vicky Guerrero, and I was talking with her and I was talking about my family in El Paso, Texas, and because my aunt remembered Vicky and she was like, "Say hey," and I was like, "Hey," and Sandy says, "Hey," and she goes, "Sandy who?" And I said my aunt's maiden name, and she goes, "Oh my gosh!" And she was telling me, and we played pranks on this teacher, and we skipped class this day to go do blah blah blah. And Vicky just had a bunch of stories for me. It was really cool experience. So I have a lot of ties to Eddie Guerrero just as a person. And side note, Eddie and my dad were both born the same year in El Paso, and they graduated from the same college. They graduated from University of New Mexico. So yeah, this is really cool. When I was really my grandma sent me this shadow box that she got from Eddie's mom. And it was when Eddie was working in the El Paso Coliseum for his dad. His first rival was this guy named La Mano Negra, the Black Hand. And this guy would always wear a sequin mask and a black glove that was sequin. And so she sent me a glove, a mask that he actually wore, and then like this super old picture of like Eddie giving the guy a hip toss that was signed. It is like old vintage Polaroid style picture from like it was either like late 80s or early 90s. It was like around that time. Eddie was like super young, like probably just right out of high school, I'd say. But so yeah, he's my favorite wrestler, and probably currently, if I can't say me or my best friend Griff Garrison as my favorite current wrestler, I'm gonna pretend like I can't say that. Maybe I can, but
I mean, you can say whatever you want, but if you want to give an unbiased answer, you're welcome to.
Yeah, that's what I'm looking for. I'm unbiased at this point. I'm going to have to go with currently, and maybe it's circumstantial, but it's Mark Briscoe. And the reason is not necessarily, it's definitely not like empathy or sorrow or feeling bad for his situation. I've wrestled him. I wrestled him for the Ring of Honor tag titles. He would not have kicked out of the Goodman Bomb if Jay didn't break up the pin. I guarantee it. And this dude went through one of the worst things you can ever experience and was wrestling 2 weeks later. It was right back to work on the road. Like, he had to be around his family for such an emotional time. And then he has to leave them to go back to his job and not really get to see them that much. It's crazy. The dude is strong physically, and he's very strong mentally, spiritually, and emotionally. I had a lot of respect for both Briscoes, and my respect for Mark has increased so much just seeing him put in the work that he is, not squandering any opportunity that comes his way, staying true to himself, and I think it sets a good example. I think it sets a good example of what strength from a person is. There's not a lot that I'm getting emotional about it, but there's not a lot that I can really say other than that. I feel like I'm jargling up my words right now, but Mark Briscoe is just the man. He's old as dirt, and he still has good matches. You know, and he just puts his all into everything he does, and I think that's very admirable. That maybe that's not necessarily from an in-ring performance standpoint. That's kind of biased. It's still a personal standpoint, but he is my favorite wrestler who's wrestling right now. So yeah.
No, that's great. That's great. I love that answer. And yeah, I'm glad that you said that because yeah, even as somebody who just watches Mark on television, he ever since that has happened, he has represented like such like a beacon of hope and strength in a world that can be so incredibly cruel.
Exactly. Those are very good words.
Thank you. All right. My last question for you is the tough one. If you could only watch one wrestling match for the rest of your life, what match would that be?
I only get one match. Man, I was running a few through my head. You know what? We did just talk about Eddie Guerrero. I would probably say Eddie Guerrero versus Brock Lesnar when he won the championship is really good. But man, really, it's just because there's so much going on in that match. If you actually go back and look at it and all the fallout that happens from it, it sets up so much. It accumulates so much for Eddie as a person, and it sets up so much for his championship run. But also his match with JBL where he just gets absolutely bloodied, like just chair shot to the dome and blood squirting from his face at Armageddon is really good. But I think what I'm really going to have to go with is Sheamus versus Daniel Bryan at WrestleMania 28. Nah, I'm just kidding. That match is only 18 seconds long. Really enjoy. This seems tacky. Rock and Hogan, WrestleMania 18, just because it's a merging of eras, going from like one era to the other. There's such a good, clear story. You're supposed to hate Hulk Hogan, but when he's in the situation, how can you really hate Hulk Hogan? And he's going against The Rock, who you're supposed to like, but now he's acting kind of like a douche. It's almost like they're flip-flopping back and forth in the match. So much is going on. That would probably have to be the match that really just made me say, I'm going to do this. Eddie was the wrestler that made me say, I'm going to do this. And that match, Rock and Hogan, is probably the one that made me say, I want to get that kind of reaction from people. And if I could watch it for the rest of my life for no other reason, to be reminded why I'm doing this and be inspired, I'll always be inspired when I watch that match. I really think so.
Oh,
good
deal. That's awesome, man. That's awesome.
So now Angel's going to add that to her list, man. She's going to watch that match to react to it. Oh, no, we lost him. Yeah.
Who is your favorite person to wrestle?
Oh, who is my favorite person to wrestle? I'm glad we're back after these technical difficulties. Thank you. But my favorite person that I've ever wrestled, biased answer wants to say Griff Garrison, just because we've had some knockout, drag-out brawls. I don't have to pull back any punches. I can give it my all. I feel like I have wrestled consistently my best matches with Griff. The highest profile matches have been like the Briscoes and FTR and the Hardys. But if I had to go with anything, I would probably have to say my favorite match that I've ever had was the show that we did at North Davidson. Being able to come back home and wrestle in front of all of my friends and all of my family that get to see me post and be on the road and that follow my career, that never get a chance to actually go out and see it. Or maybe they're not even like traditional wrestling fans, but they're fans of me as a person because I grew up with them. And when we got to put that show on and Davidson County, North Carolina, and the old gym at our old high school, which was built in the 1960s, and we got 500 people to show up and cheer for us that we grew up with. It's like a homecoming. It's like a really good experience. And in that match, I wrestled two people that I graduated with that just have so much chemistry. It was probably my favorite match, my favorite people to work with besides Griff Garrison is one's name is Cam Carter, and the other's name is Prince Semi Mutima. That's probably one of my favorite matches for the ambiance. If I have to pick with a person that I just have really good matches with, that's Griff. He's my partner. We know each other inside and out, and we bring it to each other every time. There's never going to be a match where you find me and Griff Garrison just like pulling punches. It's always going to be 100%. It's always going to be a good match. And it's just chemistry, man. Whether we're on the same team or not, when we're in the ring, it's a good match, you know? And I'm not, that sounds so cocky. I'm really not trying to be cocky right now. I just have high aspirations for me and Griff coming into the future.
Yeah. Well, no, like you guys have like that trust with each other that like, you know, you don't have to hold back. I love that.
Oh yeah. And we totally appreciate you doing this for us, man.
Yes.
Lots of good story. I love it. We loved it. So
yeah.
Dude,
this
was
so
a lot
much.
of fun. Thank you for having me.
No, I appreciate it, man. Yeah, we'll catch up with you.
Gotcha, brother.